Hello and welcome to today's Saturday Sit Down. This discussion is reflecting on the most recent podcast this Thursday in a conversation with my girlfriend Jennifer Plant. Jennifer and I used to work together at Toby Hanna Army Depot, and she is now in Germany. And I hope to go visit her next year. That would be pretty cool. Jennifer is probably one of my quietest friends, but that don't let the quiet people don't underestimate the quiet folks because there's a lot to be seen with there. So one of the things that Jennifer talked about was her fix it mentality, that she wanted to fix this situation and that there was nothing that she could do to fix it. And that was difficult for her. Heck, it was difficult for me. But I think when we see someone that we love and they're going through so much and we want to make it better and we can't, it was difficult for her. And me as a grieving person, she never communicated that to me. I didn't find out about that until we just had the podcast recently. But in her walking side by side with me in this process, I could see her leaning in to see what she could do. I say that to say that if you're a fixer, your automatic motion may be to do A, B, C. But as a fixer in this scenario, you're going to have to look at your fixer capabilities and use them different. They will serve you. They just will serve you differently than what they did in the past. Because this is not a situation that you can automatically make better, but you can use your skills and your resources to lean in to see what you can do with them. For instance, one of the things that I did not know what to do was what to do with our wedding bands. Wearing them after a while just seemed so awkward for me. Some people wear their wedding bands for 20, 30 years. For me, it was something that just made it more of the reality of the pain that was gone. So I, through the help of another friend, Jennifer Mariner, who I did speak with, she connected me with someone else. And these are the wedding bands from Mark and I. I took the wedding bands and took them to a jeweler, and the heart in the inside is mine and the outer heart is Mark's. So it was a way to repurpose our wedding bands and for me to wear them. If someone sees me wearing this, they would never know that it was my wedding bands, but I know what it is. And if I choose to tell the story to someone, then they have the opportunity to know that. And if not, then it's just a beautiful piece of jewelry. So that is a way of wanting to fix something, but looking outside the box and how to do it. So that may be a way that you look at different situations, whether you are the person grieving or you are their friend or family member supporting them, wanting to know some different options. Another thing is we talked about cleaning out the house. Now, that conversation with Jennifer and the mouse, when we first came across them, I thought those mice were moving, but they were not. The mice were dead, but Jennifer had no problem scooping the mice up and throwing them out. But what that really just represented to me is all the gritty, gross, nasty parts of dealing with something like this. The garage was full. It was like a two-car garage, and we would just put stuff out there, and we just never dealt with it. And now Mark is deceased, the kids are gone, and I'm living in Pennsylvania, and I want to park in the garage. I don't have the time to be shoveling the snow off the car or doing everything. I want that little Subaru to scoot down the road and be done. So I needed help. And there are some tasks that are beyond being able to do by yourself. And that was the task for me. It took several people coming to put things in the dumpster. It took us sorting through everything in the garage. And that sorting was hard. The emotional roller coasters in and out, opening a box, thinking of Mark and everything. It was at a point I couldn't throw anything away. It was just, I was just taking one box from one section and moving it someplace else, and no progress was being made. And there were three other ladies there with me doing it. And I could see them sort of going, do we do something? Do we just let her keep doing this? We're having fun, but we're not really accomplishing anything. And I think my sister, one of them said, okay, yeah, it was my sister Yolanda. I think she had been watching Hoarders or things like that. And she was like, well, maybe we can just take and make two separate piles. One pile, the I know for sure I want to look at some more, and this pile I think I'm going to get it rid of. Something like that. But it was a way to separate it up. And then I was able to go take the pile that I knew that I didn't want anything to do with and go through that quicker. And then there were piles that just would take me on an emotional roller coaster that I needed time to go through those boxes. But sorting them up in sort of mini piles, not that I had to react right away, but like what to do with them was extremely helpful. And I took that process and took it through everything I was going through the house, whether it was in the kitchen, whether it was in the garage, whether it was in the basement. Now, one thing I could not handle was going through all of Mark's tools. He was an electrician, and I don't know all those tools, but there were some friends of mine that I could trust, and they went through all of the tools and sorted through them. They made like a little toolbox that I would need in the house, and then they separated because he had duplicate of some tools, and then laid out tools that would make me a big toolbox. And it's one of those red stand-up things that you see, and so they were able to do that. Another way that I needed something done, and I used people that said that they wanted to help. So when people are saying, "What can I do for you?" There's a lot of things that they could do for you. It just may be things that you don't think of right away. So you can say, thank you for that offer. I don't know what it is yet, but let me come back to you. And when you're in the house and there's something you know you don't want to do but needs to be done, get them involved. And it will lighten your burden in what it is that you have to do with. It will be uncomfortable because a lot of people are now having to be in your space that maybe just a small amount of people were before. But the overwhelming weight of having to do all of it is annoying, and it's too much. And you're crying, you're upset, you're emotional. If you can take the weight of one other thing off your shoulder, I encourage you to do that. One of the other things that Jennifer talked about is me telling people to stop asking what I need overall, or stop asking how I'm doing overall. It came to the people that were close to me. I could say, can you just ask me what I need today? How I feel today? Because that was a question I could answer. I couldn't answer the overall, how are you doing? Because my mind would just start racing and thinking of all these other different things. And if I can be super candid, when someone asked me, do I need anything overall? The first thing that just came into my mind is to bring Mark back. I know it's not logical, but that's what my mind wanted. That's what my heart wanted. And I was still reconciling with the reality of it. So to keep me from going down this mental tangent and never saying that out loud in that beginning part, to tell them, ask me, what can I do for you today? Or how can I help you today? Put it in a bite-sized chunk that I could manage. My brain could not manage the big picture, but I can manage today. I can manage this hour. I can manage this second. And people that were close to me that wanted to know the truth, when I told them that, they were better. And it was better for me, and it was better for them in those conversations to be able to just be honest about where I was in grief. Because besides maybe one friend, no one else had lost a spouse. So we were in uncharted territory. We really didn't know what it looked like or how to handle something like that. So me being able to articulate that and be honest about it helped me, and it helped my friends. For you, it may be something else. Maybe you want to tell people to mention your loved one's name. You don't want it to just be such and such, the person that died, or maybe you want them to evoke their name and give them permission. But whatever it is that you feel like when you sit back and you're quiet, and it's difficult when you're around people, the people that love you, sorry about that, kicked it. The people that love you, the people that care, the people that are there for the long game, let them know what is going on and what you're needing, so they can be there with you. Another thing that Jennifer and I talked about is being in the military. I am so glad that I went in the Army. And another thing I want to tell you, and I'm just sharing that our dad, my siblings, our dad was in the Air Force. My sister Yolanda was in the Navy. Our youngest sister, Venus, it was in the Marines. And then both my children were in the Navy, and Venus's daughter was in the Navy. And then we have tons of family members that served in the military. And it served me well. It was an opportunity for this little girl from Chicago to go off her block and see what was in the big world. And it just expanded my horizons in ways that I never even thought of. I do love the country that I live in. I may not always agree with the politics or the different things that people are saying, but I do believe when people are given an opportunity to help, that they lean in. When people are given an opportunity to love, they do love. And I am grateful to be here in the United States of America. And I am proud of my family that has served this country in the military. I am proud of my oldest sister Janice serving Chicago public school system. I am proud of my family that is in service, whether it's my brother serving on the U.S. American bobsled team. We come from a proud family and grateful people to serve and to live in this country. And I am grateful for that. The military did allow me to travel. I went to Korea. In between being in the military and a government worker, Kuwait, Iraq, I have served in some dangerous places, some places that people would never want to go to, things that you just see on TV. But I do know people that have placed themselves in harm's way for the service of this country. So I thank you and your family members that may have served this country some form of fashion and capacity, because we would not have the freedom of the country that we have if it wasn't for the people that served it. Life is an adventure. It totally looks different than what I thought it was going to be when I was a young girl, like 6 or 7. Life has hit me some curves and taken me some places I never thought of, but I am grateful for the journey. I am grateful that I am still here. I am grateful for the life that I have been given to live. I am grateful to be able to find a way to take my pain and make it purposeful, because each one of you have experienced some kind of pain. There is something that has driven you to this conversation, and I am so sorry for the loss of your loved one that has you here reaching out like I remember reaching out on any platform, grasping for any information on how to deal with this pain. But I want to encourage you to hang in there, to get up every day and realize it is a new opportunity for your life. And don't rush yourself feeling like you have to be over grief, because it's not something that you can rush through. It takes time, and to be able to give yourself space and time. The first year, I know a lot of people like, I just want to get through the first year of everything. But can I give you a little bit of a heads up and a secret? You get through that first year, and on the second side of that, it's like they are still dead. And it hits some kind of way, because the first year you've got through all these check marks or other stuff, and you've probably been really busy, you've been annotating stuff. But on the second side, it's like, I really have to start dealing with life in their absence. And so it hits differently on that second year than it did the first, because the reality, there's no place to run, there's no place to go to. There are things that have to be dealt with. The reality of their absence is strong and apparent. So getting through the first year, don't get me wrong, is great, but it's not over. It is a continuing learning to live in the absence of that person. And that is why I am doing this social content, because I want you to know, as you're doing that, you are not alone. I want, when you have a thought or an idea, when something happened, and go, oh, this is what grief looks like. I didn't know it was this difficult. I want you to know that there are other people in the same journey with you going through this, and you realize that this is what it looks like. And I think when we're able to come to the conclusion that this is normal, or realize that this is something everybody goes through, that is something that you can endure, that you will be able to live and continually learn how to make a life and what needs to be done. Life is completely different. That was one thing that Jennifer spoke about. And it is. There is not a single aspect of my life that is not different since the moment Mark died. Nothing. Everything changed. I so wanted to be able to just make things what they used to be. Family traditions that we did for years didn't seem right. Driving home from work didn't seem right. Getting up in the morning didn't seem right. Everything was different. And once I came to terms with that, I needed to create something different. Some people may be okay continually their regular routines or living their life exactly as much as they could in the person's absence. But for me, I could not. Everything about my life changed. And I could not live a life that looked like Mark was just plucked out of. I started creating what my life was now. And it was difficult. Mark and I had been together for 32 years. I started dating him like when I was 18. I was just a young girl. So a lot of things that I formulated who Tina was done with Tina and Mark. And just the idea of someone saying, "What are you doing today?" I would instantly say, "Well, Mark and I." And I was like, me. I used to say our children, my children. There wasn't anything part of my life that was not impacted. And every day just going little by little thinking of what that is. So I would like for you to consider, what are some of the first levels of loss when your spouse or loved one died? And then what are some secondary, third levels of things that you've experienced since they passed? Because when we are able to really coin it and put a name to it and identify it, it made it palatable. It made it easy to handle because I could see this wasn't a lot of abstract, just my mind all over the place. These were real hard things happening. One of the other things that Jennifer talked about is the apparent silence that she had to deal with. I'm the talker. So when we got in the car, when we were driving back from Delaware after Mark died and it was completely silent, it was scary for her and it was scary for me. But I needed the silence because I needed to process everything. I share that with you because your characteristics and your behavior may be different than what they were before your loved one passed. And that's okay because you are trying to sort out what life looks like. And you need time to do it. And don't feel selfish for taking that time for yourself to do it. When Jennifer and her husband Paul drove me home from Delaware after Mark died, they wanted to come in the house and they wanted to be there until somebody else came. But I needed that moment to fall apart. I needed that moment to scream in the house and be mad. I know a lot of people tell me that the shower is a safe space to do that when there's a lot of people in the house, maybe in the car. But you may need a place to release all of that pent up energy and frustration and to be able just to release the reality of how you feel. And it's okay because I have seen if people don't deal with the reality of that missing person, it will seep out in ways that are not very healthy. And I want good for you. So I encourage you that as you're on this journey to reach out, go to widowhood-realtalkwithtina.org, share your story with me, ask questions, different topics that we can discuss, and just say hello. I want to hear from you because we are on this journey together. Those are all my notes for today. Have a good one. Bye.